So we are in the week 7 of the semester. Um, Last week we had our quizzes and marking is still ongoing. Last 2 weeks we looked at control structures. Okay, but we took the receipt or invoice example and we saw how we can add um, some of the control structures to it. And Philip, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
So, please, the test we just did, I realized that there was a question I wanted to ask you. They said the difference between uh, the int main and uh, that of the Java. I think that was
Yes.
the return or something like that. I was not clear with it, so I wanted to you to explain it to me.
Oh, the question was clear. These are questions I've asked class a couple of times. I think this was the B class, right, Philip?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the question was clear. The question was for you to um, tell the difference between the int main in C++ and then the public static void main in Java. That was the question. So I don't know what.
Yes.
So what's the struggle? What was the
Well,
struggle?
I was struggling a bit answering it, like I wanted to clarify,
I can't hear
explain
you
it.
clearly. I don't know if
No, so I mean, like, I struggled a bit when I was answering. So, like, I wanted to maybe give me a clue of what the answers should actually be.
oh if anyone here knows the answer, the person can share it. Anyone knows the answer. It's something I've mentioned in class a lot of times, especially this semester, anytime we are writing the main function. I remember asking that question. Who knows the answer? Who can tell us the answer?
The question again.
Yes, who knows the answer? Who can help us?
Please, I didn't catch the question. The question again.
Um, the question was on the difference between the int main in Java. Sorry, int main, the use of int main in C++ and the public static void main in Java. Yes, Bashiru.
So please with the int main in C++, because of the integer main, it return a value, but with the Java public static void main, with the void, it doesn't return any value.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Bashiru. So, Philip, that's the answer.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other issue with any question you may want us to discuss before we go ahead with today's class? I think at the appropriate time we'll go through the questions and then the marking scheme. Hopefully, when we meet face to face and you all have your scripts, we can go through them one after the other. All right. So we started looking at the use of control structure. Okay, but what we did was to use the for loop and the if else inside the developing the application on the receipt. Okay. So today we want to look at just some example, a couple of examples when it comes to the control structures. With the conditional one, we'll look at the example with respect to the if else, the switch case, and then we'll look at some one looping example as well. Next week, we'll focus on the arrays. Then the subsequent week, we look at methods. Then from there, we'll spend some time on the OOP concepts. No. All right, so we know conditional statements. We know control structures are used to control statements in your program or the task you want to handle. We know on the conditional control structures or the branching or selection control structures or decision-making control structures as the type of control structures that execute a task if the condition is met. Okay, whereas we have the loops which execute the task while the condition is met. So the loops are considered to be repetition, okay, or iterative in nature, repetitive in nature. All right. So we know of the if-else statement. So the if-else statement, the if carries a condition. Once the condition within the if statement is true, it executes the task within it. If it is false, it moves to the else statement. So we know how the syntax works. If the condition or the test is true, it executes the statement within it. Else, if it is false or otherwise, it executes the statement within the else. Then we have the nested if-else statement. So nested means that you have an if-else statement within another if-else, another if statement. So you have, for instance, a statement like, or a problem like, okay, you want to check if the door is opened or not. Okay, for instance, you are looking for something in a room. You want to check if the door is open or not. If the door is open, you want to check the table. Let's say you are looking for a pen. So first, you are checking whether the door is open or not. If the door is open, you want to perform another check, whether the pen is on the table or not. Okay, so it's an if statement within another if statement. So that's what we call a nested statement. Okay. So it says here that this sequential structure is appropriate if you want to execute any combination of three statements. For example, you might want to write this code in a program for a questionnaire with three optional parts. Okay. So this is one approach. And this is another approach of the nested statement. Okay, so with this approach, they are looking at ifs throughout, which is not within another if. Okay, but you are testing each condition. Whereas with the second approach, I said with the second approach, however, you only want to execute one series of statements. In such cases, it's better to nest the if statement, stacking them one inside another. Okay. So in this approach, you have your if statement. So this one can say, okay, is the door open? If this door is open and it's yes, okay, then we end there. Else, if the door is not open, you put another condition is the key in the door. If yes, then open the door. If no, then you can put another if statement there. So it's nested. Okay, so you have if statements within if statement. If you have multiple conditions you want to handle. Okay. All right. So if you remember the early part of the course, we wrote a program to check BMI. Okay, so this example is there. You can try it from your handout. So with this example, it says this program computes two people's body mass index, compares them, and compares them. The code uses the scanner input and parameters or returns the value. Okay. So we start by creating a project. You create your class. The class name is BMI. We introduce our main method, PSVM. Okay. And then we introduce our scanner. So like I always say, anytime the scanner introduced, okay, scanner with capital S, it imports the scanner package. That's the java.util. Okay, this question came inside the quiz, if you remember. Okay, so anytime you import it, you get the scanner dot. Anytime you introduce your scanner, you get the java.util ported. Then we introduce an object of the scanner, which is console. Most of the time when we are writing the codes in class, I use input. Okay, so it's just an object. Okay, so it doesn't matter which word you use, whether scan, input, okay, it should still work. But you make sure that anytime you are using it again, you maintain that object name. So new scanner system.in, then we declare the two variables. So we say BMI1, BMI2. So BMI of the first person, because we are looking at two people. So person one into bracket console. Okay, that means we are accepting input for person one, person two to bracket console. Then we come through with the report. Okay. Now this is how this code works. We've created two methods. Two methods have been created. Two methods. Two methods have been created. So, okay, so in fact, there are three methods. Okay, let me just look at it quickly. Yes. So there are three, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So there are four methods in this code. There are four methods in this code. Okay. So let's take the method by method and then come back to the main method, which will be the feed method. So for the first method, we are going to look at methods, okay, as a topic on its own, but it's something we've done. Functions is the same. Anytime we say method, it means function. All right. So the first method here is public static void introduction. That's the first method. The second method here is person. The third method here is BMI. The fourth method here is report. Okay. So what's the first method doing? Introduction. It says this prints a welcome message explaining the program. So this program reads data of two people and then computes their body mass index BMI. That is all. Okay. So it's just printing output. So usually in that context, that's where we use the void because it's not returning any value per se. Okay, so it's just outputting something. So usually we use void for such methods. Now we come to the second method. So this is method one. We come to method two. So method two starts from here to here. Now method two, it says it reads information for one person and computes the BMI, computes their BMI and returns it. And we know the computation of BMI already from our previous class. Okay, so this particular method is a double method. Okay, it has a double time. That means that because of the double, it's going to return a value. Can we all see that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this method is taking a parameter. And this parameter or argument is called console. Okay, and if you remember, that was the value that we declared earlier, the scanner object we declared earlier. Okay, so with this console, we say system.out, enter the next person information. So it starts, enter the next person information, enter the height in inches, which we've done before, the weight in pounds. So console.next double. Okay. Then after taking it, we declare the body mass, and we say body mass is equal to BMI. BMI into bracket what? Height and weight. Okay. Now this BMI here is linked to this function, the third function, or the third method. That's where the computation is done. So this method 3. Okay. So here is the double body mass is calling the BMI method, which is here. Okay. So now let's look at the BMI method. The BMI method says public static double BMI, double height, double weight. Okay. So this is the method name BMI, which is being called over here. Then we have the parameters. So these are the input parameters, which comes in the form of the height and the weight. And if you remember the formula, okay, so I think there's a little mistake in the formula. What was the formula again? It was weight divided by height squared, right? All times what? 703. You still remember? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So weight times weight divided by, so there's a mistake here in the writing of the formula. Yeah. So weight divided by the height times height, all into bracket, divided by 700, times 703. So it's returning the BMI value. Okay, so when we call it in here, we are just specifying the value of the height and the value of the weight. Okay, then it will calculate the BMI here for us. It will calculate the BMI at this level. Okay, so this will read the BMI of the person, compute the BMI, and then it will return the BMI as we can see here. Okay. Then we have the last method, or the fourth method. We have the fourth method. Okay. So let's look at the fourth method and how it works. So method 4. Method 4 is taking, or the method 4 is named report. Okay. So report, what is this supposed to do? So this will output information about the person's BMI and the weight status. Okay, so with this report, we want to tell whether the person is underweight, has a normal weight, overweight, or is obese. Okay, so we use the if-else statement here, as we can see. Okay, we are using the else if as well because we have multiple conditions we need to handle. Okay, so this is a void statement because we will just tell whether the person is underweight, normal weight, obese, or we are not returning any value per se. So we take parameters, the number, okay, where the number is maybe the first person, maybe the first person, and then it takes the BMI. So the BMI that was calculated from the second method, this method 2, this method 3. Okay, just a minute. All right, so this BMI here is the result we are getting from method 2. Okay. Sorry, results we are getting from method 3 because method 3, that's where we are calculating or computing for the BMI. Okay. So once we get that, we take the number. So the number is which person that is taken. Okay, it is the first person. It calculates the BMI, tells that the first person is underweight or overweight or normal weight, or we do it for the second person and we tell. Okay, so if it's for, so inside the report method, it's going to output the person and then indicate the person number. So if it's number 1, okay, and then it will take the BMI, okay, So the first person and the BMI. So that is what it's going to do. Then it'll check the BMI that was accepted here. So is that BMI less than 18.5? It is less, then it's underweight. Else, if that BMI is less than 25, it's less than 25, then it's a normal weight. So that's to say that it is less than 25. However, it is greater than 18.5. Are you all with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A value of, let's say, 19. 19 is less than 25, all right, but it's still what? Greater than 18.5. So 19 in the BMI is given 19, then it means it's a normal weight. Okay. Else, if it is greater than 25, then it checks. Else, if BMI is less than 30, so less than 30, if we have, let's say, 27, 27 should satisfy this condition. Okay. Even though that 27 is still above these values, but okay, it's less than the 30. Okay, so it will meet this condition. And then any value above 30 or 30 or more. Okay, so this is not less than this is not less than or equal to this less than. So 30 or more will be considered as what? Obese. Okay, so 30 or more will be considered as obese. Okay. All right, so the main thing you need to pay attention to is all the methods and how they were written, what parameters they are taking. Okay, so over here we have the we have the parameters, okay, that they are taking. So now when we come back to the main method, so this is where you need to identify the various methods. Okay, so we introduce the scanner, that's the console, and then first we are printing or introducing the introduction method. And the introduction method, from what we know, it just came to give us some text about what the program is about. And then we had the double BMI. Okay. Double BMI 1 is equal to person. Okay. And what is the person? The person method, as we can see from here, is taking in the person's information. What's the information? The height, okay, and the weight. So it takes the person's height and weight and then puts it inside the method for the BMI to compute the BMI for the person. Okay, to compute the person's body mass. Okay. So that is done over here. Over here. Okay. Then here is going to handle the report, whether the person is underweight or normal weight. Okay, so this is the method report. And then it's taking two parameters, that's number and then BMI. So when we come here, we enter the number as 1. So this to mean that the first person, and then we enter BMI 1. So BMI 1 will now be linked to this BMI, okay, which is also linked to this method, that's the person method, taking the console. Okay, so it will compute the report for this first person and then tell us whether the BMI or what the BMI is. Okay, whether it's overweight or underweight. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
And when it computes for the second
sir.
person, so 2 and BMI 2 will now do the computation for the second person. Okay, and then check the BMI. Then over here is doing the difference. So it's just outputting the difference. So the BMI of the first person minus the BMI of the second person. Okay. Now this here is what we call the inbuilt or the predefined maths function. You remember we looked at functions in C++, the various libraries and their functions. You remember? I gave you some assignments last semester.
Yes,
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That had to do with C++. Okay. Now this is the math, the Java equivalent of that math function. So the math library is written here. This is the math library. Okay, what I've circled as yellow. And then this is the function ABS. The ABS function is what we call the absolute function. Okay, so it gives you the absolute value of the BMI of the first person minus the BMI of the second person. Okay, and similarly, this math function, so maybe you want to find square root of a value. We just say math, which is the library, dot square root, SQRT. Okay, and then you put your value in there. Okay, so this is how that function or that library is written in Java. All right. Any question on this code before we move to the next one? Yes, Bashiru.
Sir, please, with the int number, the program didn't allow us to enter the number. That's what I'm confused with.
Which part? Which number are you talking about? If you have your handout with you, you can refer to it and then. I didn't get your question well, so if you can.
So the int number and the int BMI, the last part, which is calculated.
Int, okay, int number and double BMI. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So what was your question there?
So I was asking the int number, the program didn't allow us to enter the number. So that's why I'm confused.
No, don't be confused. So this number, we call it, we'll look at functions. We have the actual parameter and the absolute parameter. So if you are passing a value into the function, so we wrote the function as what? It was void report, right? The function name was void report. Okay, and we said int number and then double, please pardon my writing, double BMI. Okay, so the int number over here, okay, we don't need to, we can introduce a statement like we've done for the BMI. Okay, we can introduce a statement that will accept, prompt the user to enter the person's information. Okay, but this is the case, we've entered the value directly, so the number directly. When we call the report function, we entered the number directly. So we didn't prompt anyone to enter any number like that of for the BMI. So for the BMI, if you realize the person method, we asked for the information or the details of the person. Okay, the person's information. So they enter the person's height and weight. But in terms of the number, we are not prompting for anyone to enter a number. We just say, okay, 1 is for the first person, 2 is for the second person. You get it?
Yes, please.
Any other question?
Thank you.
Move to the switch case. You're welcome. Any other question before we move to the switch case? All right. So if there's no question, so this is the output for the program. So it reads to people's inputs. So if you remember the introduction, this is the introduction method. The introduction method. Then after, it asks for the input of the next person, the first person, input of the second person. Okay. Input of the first person, input of the second person. Then after taking the input, it calculates the BMI. Calculate the BMI for person 1. Calculate the BMI for person 2. And then tells us whether person 1 is underweight, overweight, person 2 has a normal weight. Then it finds the difference. So BMI of person 1, which is 27 points, and then the BMI of person 2, which is giving us what? 4, as you can see here. All right, so let's look at this switch case example. So I'll open IntelliJ and then we will try this example together. Okay, so we know how the switch case works. You introduce the switch and then the case, whatever condition is inside the case should satisfy what is in the switch. And then once it satisfies, it prints out the condition or prints out the statement for you. Okay. So this particular example has to do with computing the payroll, or it's for a payroll, computing how much someone is paid after working for maybe a week. Okay, so how much time the person is supposed to work a week, how much salary the person is paid an hour, how many hours the person worked a week. Do those multiplications. The person did an overtime, how much are you going to pay the person, and all that. Okay. In actual sense, whatever we are going to try in this example can also be linked to the receipt example we've been doing so far. Okay. All right. So if you have your lecture notes, I'll switch to IntelliJ as we try this example. All right, so I hope you can all see my IntelliJ interface.
No.
Yes, sir, we can see.
All right. Okay, so we'll create a new project. Or the or Cointe, don't stop writing on the screen. Who is writing on the screen? Yeah, all right. Thank you for cleaning it. So we create a new project. We give the project a name, let's say Payroll. And by now, I believe we all know how to create a project. Okay, by default, we have in here our main method. Okay, so we'll delete it. We'll delete it. And then inside the SRC folder, we create our package. So I'll name this package com.payroll. And then create a class. So name this class payroll. All right. I hope you can all see the code, the interface.
Yes.
Okay. So we introduce our method, so PSVM. And then we introduce our scanner. So scanner. So let's just say, let me use input since we are all familiar with that. So scanner, input, new scanner. That means we are coming to accept some inputs. So the first thing we want to do is declare some variables. We want to declare our variables. Now, in this particular example, we want to get an employee's ID, so employee's number. So for every organization, there's an employee ID or number. Employee ID. We also declared employee name, so we say string employee name. And then want to declare other variables. So double salary. So let's say hourly salary. Let's use float. Float hourly salary. And then let's declare double the hours a week. So weekly time, regular time, let's also declare overtime. and then we'll do other declaration. I can do on the same line, but I just want you to see the code. So we have the regular pay, or we can say regular salary, regular pay, overtime pay, and then we have the net pay. Okay. I hope you are all following.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for
Yes, sir.
every employee, we take the ID of the employee, the name of the employee, the hourly salary. So let's say in the organization, an hour, you are paid maybe 100 Ghana cedis. Okay. Then the weekly time, how many hours you are supposed to work a week, maybe 40 hours a week, or how many times you work the week. The regular time is 40. So if you are working a week and your weekly time is up to 40 hours, then you collect your regular pay. But if you do the 40 hours and you exceed it, then you have an overtime. Okay. So the overtime will now be added to your regular time, and then you have your net pay. Are we all here?
Yes.
Okay. So now we want to prompt the person to enter the ID. So please or enter the employee ID. So we use employee ID equals to input.nextInt. Okay. Input.nextInt to get the employee ID. And then we introduce our switch case. We introduce our switch. Sorry, switch with small s. Switch with small s. Please always be mindful of the case sensitivity. So switch with small s. Okay. So you can see here, so switch. Now we did a switch. I'm taking the expression employee ID. Switch. I'm taking employee ID. So the employee ID that was entered, I'm taking that, okay, as the switch. Now I'm going to compare it and then tell who the employee is. Okay, because in most organizations, you are almost all the time identified by your ID. Okay, because like I always say, there are times where you can have one or two people with the same name. Two or more people with the same name, same first name,
Yes.
same last name. Okay, so it's always best to use an ID or some numbers to identify employees, like with the way we have in our academic community where we have the student ID. So we introduce our case. Okay, so case, we give the employee an ID. So we have here 82500. And then we introduce our column. Okay, then here we will take in, or we will take the employee name. So we say employee name is equal to, okay, so it's giving us a name. Let's take it like that. So after we break, and then move to the next case. So the next case we'll take the So case 2882501. And then we will say, we give it an employee name. And then we break. We take the next case. Okay, 582502. Then we give it an employee name. So this is just to say that you have two employees with the same name. Okay. However, the ID is what differentiates the employees. Are you following?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
So we use the default, and then with the default, we'll say employee is unknown. Unknown employee. Then we break. Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it will prompt you to enter the name, the ID of an employee. Now you enter the ID, the switch case will now take the ID that was entered and check the cases to see who or which employee bears that particular ID. Okay, which employee bears the ID. So it prompts you to enter the ID, and then you enter 82503. What do you think will be the output for this if it compares?
Unknown
employee.
Yeah, unknown employee. Okay, because it's going to compare with the first case, 82500. That's not it. Compares with the second case, 82501. That is not it. 82502. That is not it. Then it moves to the default. So the default here is saying unknown employee. Okay, so it means there's no employee in that organization with the ID of 82,503. All right, so let's move on. So the next part of the code is to perform some computation. But before that, we want to check the ratings. Okay, the ratings, how many hours the person worked a week and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but now we are exiting our switch case. We are exiting our switch case. Okay, so you can see the way I've collapsed it. That means that whatever we are coming to type, we are not typing it inside the switch case, but I've exited the switch case. Yes, Wise.
Yeah, I want to ask, doing with the switch case, the default side,
Yes.
is there a way you can do it where it will then ask you to enter the employee's name instead of with the default unknown employee?
Yes, you can do that. You can do
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can even put a loop there, put a loop in there to or a condition there to tell if the person doesn't exist, or is it a new employee? If it's a new employee, you enter the name. Add those conditions there to make the program more interactive.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we have exited our switch case. Now we want to prompt the person to enter the hourly salary. So with the hourly salary, we say hourly salary, we declared it as float. So we say hourly salary equals input dot next float. And then we also declare the weekly salary. So enter the weekly salary, that also weekly salary, weekly time, yes. Enter the weekly time, not salary. Okay, so weekly time, I think we declared that as double, right?
Yes.
So that should be next double, not float. Next double. Then now we want to put a condition there. Okay. So at this point, we know at this point we want to know the or we want to check for the individuals, put a condition there to check if the person did an overtime or deserve a pay for overtime or does not deserve a pay. Okay. So we say if the person's weekly time, okay, if the person's weekly time is less than 40, okay, it's less than 40. So basically you are supposed to like work 40 hours. So if it's less than 40, then we say that the regular time is equal to the weekly time. Okay. The person is supposed to work 40 hours a week. So if the person's work less than that 40 hours, the person's regular pay is based on what the number of hours the person works a week. So in that case, the overtime is equal to 0.
Yes.
Because the person didn't work for any overtime. Now, we need to, this regular time, not regular pay. The regular time is equal to the weekly time. All right, so the person's regular time will be equal to the weekly time, okay? Because it's working less than the regular time, so less than 40 hours a week. So the person's regular time will be equal to the weekly time, and overtime will be equal to 0. Now we want to calculate for regular pay. So regular pay will be equal to the hourly rate, what was entered here, times the weekly time, or times the regular time, because now the regular time is the same as the weekly time, times the regular time, and then the overtime pay, is also equal to 0 because it doesn't have anything to account for overtime. And then finally, the net pay will be equal to the regular pay. Will be equal to the regular pay the person gets. Okay. So that's for the if. Now we say else. So else, what am I going to do, or what are we going to do? We are going to put these same values here, okay, but we are going to change them. Okay. because else will mean that the person is now working overtime, okay, or did exactly 40. Working overtime or did exactly 40. Okay, because you said less than 40. So we'll fix the regular time at 40. And then we'll say the overtime is equal to the weekly time. So maybe the person is doing more than 40. So the weekly time minus 40. Okay, so the person is either doing exactly 40 or more than 40. So the weekly time minus 40. And then the regular pay will be equal to the the hourly salary times the regular time, which is 40. Okay, or we could equally say here minus the regular time, which is also 40, because we've already assigned the value of 40 to it. Then we come to overtime. Okay, so we have the overtime pay. Okay, so overtime will be hourly pay times overtime. So if the person's overtime is 0, the hourly pay will be 0. Are you with me? If the person worked 40 hours,
Yes, please.
40 minus 40 will be 0. So if you multiply it by the overtime, by the hourly salary, that will still be 0. Okay. Now, the net salary or the net pay will now be the regular pay that the person is supposed to take plus the hourly pay. The overtime pay. Okay, to give you the person's net pay, because this person has worked overtime, whereas this person is working under time. Okay, so this person is working like the normal 40 hours or more, whereas this person is working less than the 40 hours per week. Okay, so that's for the if statement. So this is the if, this is the else, the if. We have the switch case here. I'm just collapsing it so that the quotes don't take the entire space. Okay, so we can see everything that I've typed so far. All right, so now we want to output our statement. Okay, output it just like we've been doing with the payroll, the receipt and invoice example. So we say system.out with capital X, system.out. Then we will output a string plus plus plus. Then system.out again. Output a string. So we say ATU payroll. And then maybe plus 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 again. And then Here we'll take employee number. So employee number we'll take employee number. Then the next one we'll take employee name. We'll take employee name. And the next one we'll take the employee hourly salary. Then we take the employee weekly time. Then we take the employee's regular pay. Regular pay. Okay, so let me space it out so that it looks presentable. Now this time, this is another approach. I'm using a tab key, okay, just to make it well aligned instead of using the backslash T. Then this time I'll take the employees overtime pay, and then finally do employee net pay. So I'll just copy this same thing, break it down. So we have our output nicely. Maybe add some tab here. Okay. So with the salary, I can put here hourly salary. I can put here Ghana cedis, EHC. Then the pay, I can put here JHC. Come down here, put the same here. And then the next pay, put the same here. Okay. All right, so I hope you all get the code.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, just a quick one. Let me just chip this in. So from the mid-semester, sorry, the quiz we wrote last week, okay, the quiz 3. Quiz 3, this was what I was expecting from you. Because the question said you should write the output syntax. So this was what you just take the image that you saw, and then you just write the output syntax as you see it. Okay, just like you have in your lecture notes, and just like we've been doing in class. Okay. All right. So now let's run our code and see our output. I hope you can all see my screen.
Also,
Yes, please.
All right. So we enter the employee ID. So let's say 8201. We enter the employee salary, hourly salary. So let's say every hour is paid 100 cedis. We enter the weekly time. So let's say the person works 30 hours a week. Okay. So as you can see here, the employee salary. Okay, so that means you need to go back and do some few changes to our payroll, adding the backslash.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, please, what you just did, but is this not also the output?
Which one?
The what is displayed now? Enter the employee and all that.
Yes. This is the output.
Yes. So if you write this too, is it wrong?
The question is clear. This is not a Java syntax. Is this? You get the question? The mid-term question was,
Yes.
write a Java program, only the output syntax. So I've given you how the output should look like. So yours is to write your system.out to show how that output, write your system.out, which is the Java program, to show how that output will look. You get it?
Okay, but please, this one is called what?
This is your output, but this is not a syntax.
Okay.
You get me?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the output. And like I keep saying in exams, I'll give you the output like this, but it's up to you to write the code which will produce this output. That's the syntax. Okay, which will produce this output. So we just need to do a little tweak our code a bit, look at our output and then tweak it a bit to make it more well aligned. So employee name, we can put our \T there. Employee ID, employee name, and have a \T. We can have two of that. Employee ID, we can have two of that. With this one, we can do one. With this also, we can do two of this. One, and then maybe two of this. So let's run it again and see what that will look like. So employee ID 82502, person work 30 hours. Oh, sorry, 30 Ghana cedis. Maybe you work 35 hours. Okay. So that means we need to push this to the right a bit. Okay, add one more tab to it. So basically, the name of the person, John Smith, using the switch case to handle that. Person hourly is 30 Ghana cedis. Okay. Then the weekly time, okay, for 30 hours or 35 hours, you multiply it, it's still lower than the pay, overtime pay, so we don't need to do anything. Okay, but the regular pay, we multiply and it's the same as the net pay. Okay. All right, so let me just modify it for the last time. Then, so add another \T here. Maybe I can put this \T before the Ghana cedi. And let's run it for the last time. Yes, Nanaya, you can ask your question.
Okay, sir, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, please, what does the /T means?
Hey, my brother,
Yes, sir.
is it the first time you are joining us in class?
Yes, please.
Since level 100? Hey,
Oh no, like this semester, it's since they decided Java, it's
this is something we've learned from last semester, my brother. Please don't repeat this question at all. Don't repeat this question at all. We started talking about this from last semester, C++. So please, don't repeat this question. Okay. So, yes, we can still modify it a bit. So you realize that the ID is not in here. So it says unknown employee, but it's still going ahead to calculate what the pay and overtime pay for us. So something like this, if we go to the National Service Secretariat, we'll say these are ghost names, or are they ghost names?
Yes, sir.
Are ghost names? Yeah,
Yeah,
they are collecting salary, but we don't know.
don't know their name.
So you can write a program such that if the person is unknown, it should not compute the salary.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So try your hands around it. Just play around it. These are regular things we need. You see every time developing applications. All right, so I'll take some questions. I wanted us to do something on the loops, but probably we can do that next week. The ones with the loops are not much of an issue, so we can do that next week. Yes, there are two hands up, Bashiru and Paul. Bashiru, can I ask your question?
So please, I wanted to ask, so the switch case and the if else, are they still working in the code?
Yes, they are still working. It's the switch case that's able to tell us that the employee, we had an unknown employee from the output.
So then the weekly time,
Yes,
is it the number of days or
weekly time. So the weekly time is like, so this is an institution where you are being paid hourly. Okay? You are being paid per hour. So how many hours did the person work in a week? You get me?
yes?
Unfortunately, we don't do that here in Ghana, but in the outside, the West, they do that a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are welcome, Bashiru. Paul.
Sir, please, I want to verify something inside the else statement, please.
All right. So we are in there now. The L.
Yeah.
Did you say the
Oh,
L?
okay. Yes, please. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Any other question? Any other question?
Service is in the handout.
Yes, it's there. I think what page is that?
7. 36%.
Yeah, page 36, 37.
All right.
Yeah. The output is in page 38. Yes, Andrew. So we take the last question from Andrew. Andrew, we can't hear you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, I wanted to ask for the currency, that's the GHC, at the output place. I want to ask, can you always write it in the string, or you have to call a currency example in a class before it will detect that maybe you are writing a figure in a currency? Maybe you want dollars to be in you want a dollar to assign to a certain number, maybe a certain figure, let's say maybe $40 or something, or any other currency.
Yeah, so
Can you always write it in the string?
Yeah, so the currency format is there, which you have to concatenate it with the your output, your variable. Okay, that approach is there. With this approach, we are just using it inside the text. Next semester, we will see more examples where you can write those values, the code for the currency to get the currency package or the currency class and so on. Okay. But for now,
okay, sir,
we're looking at it as adding it to your string, your output string, okay, to display with.
Sir, please, one more question.
Yeah.
Sir, for the receipts that we were trying last time, I wanted to ask if for the string, maybe you input a dollar string. You input a dollar in the string, so that it will be able to display on the terminal. Like maybe you want to display a figure about
like this.
You said?
Like what I'm doing here.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask if it will work like that. Maybe you want it.
It will work
it's going to work.
Once it's inside the string. What the string does in your output statement is that it prints exactly what you put there.
Okay, sir.
So it will work.
Thank you very much, sir.
And the string is just a combination of characters. So any character you put there, once it's not an escape sequence like the \C, okay, to print out exactly the character you put in there.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you for your question. All right. So hey, Rosemary. All right, Rosemary, ask your question.
Sir, please, I just want to see the end of the code.
Okay, so this is the end. What you are seeing at the moment is the end. All right, so what I'll do is I'll create the LMS interface and upload some of the codes that we've written together with the mid-semester question so that you can have a fair idea of what the other classes, the type of questions they got. And you can use that to study as well. Since for the next 3 weeks, you will be having online. I'll add some materials as well to the LMS to help you learn the course before we resume the face-to-face. So the last question from Ferdinand.
Some of us haven't received our handout.
Communicate with your class rep and we'll work on that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So class rep, let me know those who are in need of it. Then we'll make it available, hopefully by next week, so that you can come to campus for it. Hey. Wisdom, should I allow you to ask a question? Hello, Wisdom.
Sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, my question is not pertaining to today's class, but I was wondering if in C++ we did manipulators,
yes,
where we talked about set precision, fixed and scientific, in handling floating point numbers. I was wondering, do we have that in Java, and then how do we do that?
Okay.
So that's my question.
That's your question. Okay. Okay. All right. So in Java, we don't have the same manipulators. Okay. We don't have exactly the same manipulators, but Java has a class which also handles manipulators. Okay, now, for instance, if you are writing a Java code and maybe you want to, let's say, remove white spaces from the code. Okay, you are writing a Java code, you want to remove maybe some white spaces. There is manipulator like trimming. Okay, it's a method. Then you use it. There's also a method for concatenation. That's the concat method, and a few others. So they also have string manipulators, okay, which work differently from the way that of the Java class work. Okay, so in terms of Java, those manipulators come inside. We use them together with your output text. So for instance, if I want to output the pay, the overtime pay, okay, or the weekly hours, I can just do dots. Okay, so you can see some of the formats there, maybe dot stream. It comes with some formats. Trying to remember some of them. I think there's the trim method, there's the substring method, a replace method, and a whole lot of them. And so they also, yes, basically they also have their they also have their manipulators, okay, but they work differently from that of the Java, or the way they are used, where maybe the set precision used. Okay, but next week our next meeting, I want to, there's something I'll chip in when we are doing the array. Okay, so for instance, you notice that if we were doing C++, I would have used the set precision to set this value to do
Joseph, please check your camera.
to set this value to 2 decimal places. Who was just speaking? Hello?
Sir, please, it was David.
So we would have set this to 2 decimal places. Okay, so 2 decimal places. In C++, I would have just used the set precision and then set to 2 decimal places. Okay, but in Java, there's a way we can do it. So I'll introduce that to that when we meet next week. So that when you are taking your values, you know it's a salary value, so points. Maybe 100.50 pesos or something, 0.50. So we look at how to do that. All right. So we'll call it a day.